sunk cost fallacy. God, we all suffer from this one. This is the idea that money that we invest, and in this case, let's say it's our home, we spend money to do something that we want to make something nicer, do an upgrade, an addition, add a pool, remodel a kitchen or bathrooms, replace flooring, add high-end appliances. And when we go to sell, we are expecting the same return on investment that we made. Now, the unfortunate part is buyers don't see it the same way. One of the most common that we deal with is when people buy a home and they install a pool. And maybe that pool cost them $80,000. And now when they go to sell that home, they want $80,000 more than the model match that's for sale 3 doors up that doesn't have a pool. Buyers don't see it that way. You also have to remember that because we do things when we live in a home, and this is different than buying a rehab property and fixing it up, upgrading it, and flipping it. I'm talking about when we live in it. We are making those decisions based on something that we want. At the end of the day, a buyer will see a newly remodeled kitchen and bathrooms and clean and fresh flooring, fresh paint as a value add, but they are not going to be willing to pay the same amount of money that it costs you to have that work done. One thing to remember with pools is, while there's a lot of us that like to own homes with pools, I'm on my second, but my next home probably isn't going to have a pool. Pools are maintenance. They have costs not only in utilities, but also in equipment repair and weekly and monthly maintenance. But also as your children get older and they move out of the house, us old folk find ourselves not really going in the pool as much as we used to. It's not the same as in our 20s or 30s of hosting the barbecue parties where all the friends came over and everybody's, eating and drinking and jumping in the pool and the kids are swimming and it's fun. Those kind of times change. And you'll actually find that 50% of home buyers, especially in California, actually don't want a pool. Some of them because they have young children, sometimes infants or toddlers, and they find it a hazard. And others are getting closer to my and maybe some of your age where it's just like, I used it twice last summer. Not worth spending the extra money. Now, does a pool add value? Yes, but it limits your buyer pool. Same sort of thing when you add, let's say something like a Viking stove. Okay, Viking stoves have name brand appeal. They're professional level. And anybody who's owned one will also tell you that for some reason they require more maintenance and repair than, let's say, a GE or an LG stove seems to. And while you might have spent $8,000 on that stove, it's not necessarily $8,000 added to the price of your home. Because remember, just like a car, when you buy a car new, the second you drive it off the lot, it's not worth as much as it was when you bought it. Same holds true to things you do to your house. Now, there are minimums. There's very often, and you'll see it a lot with people that have been landlords that have had homes for rent. For years, they've decided we don't want to keep this house as a rental anymore. So we're going to go ahead and put it on the market. And because the rental market isn't yet requiring that a landlord update, sometimes even repainting and replacing carpeting between tenants, you may find that a lot of these homes, well, they're outdated. They might be 20, 30 years outdated. And we're talking about chip tile on the kitchen countertops, white appliances that are worn through the paint finish, things like that. When they go to put the home on market, they're expecting the same amount of money as the neighbor around the corner who has dumped all their money into even cabinet refacing and having granite countertops put in and has gone to all tile except for like the stairs and the bedrooms that is new carpet and has installed crown molding. The two aren't the same, but one isn't necessarily worth a lot more than the other. What you'll find happens is buyers will choose to buy the home that's in better condition and better upgraded if the prices were the same or semi-relative, and the former landlord that is selling the outdated kind of worn home is going to take longer on market and will have to discount further in order to compete with anybody in the neighborhood who's lived in the home and over the years made their own upgrades and improvements to it. These are all things, again, that need to be taken into account, and they need to be researched by your agent so that we can see, because in some neighborhoods, a pool is worth more than it is in others. Did you know that's not just it has a pool, so it's worth this much? And yes, you could have Pebble Tech. It could be a saltwater pool. But at the end of the day, buyers are going to be comparing a usable pool to a usable pool, much like they decide on a kitchen based on the square footage of it, the space, the layout, and whether or not they like the color. As long as the cabinets aren't falling apart and they like it, it makes no difference to them if they're refaced cabinets or they're custom ordered, made in Europe and shipped out here, chiseled to fit. It doesn't make a difference to most buyers. Now, we can talk about getting into really, really high-end homes where we start to get into the mansions. And then, yes, where you imported your tile in the master bathroom shower does sort of make a difference. But I'm talking to the rest of us regular folk here that are just getting by day to day and are happy of the fact that we have a roof over our heads. Whether my granite came from the granite discount store in my kitchen down the street, or whether I imported it from some European nation, I doubt very much you're going to care. Granite's granite. If the buyer likes the color and it's in good shape, it's worth the same.